Dr. Wisdom, it's about community mobilization and the whole sense of community again. And each of us taking responsibility first and foremost for ourselves. And when you start to care for, respect, and trust yourself and take responsibility for yourself, then you do it for your household.
Okay.
Yeah?
I see what you have.
Then you are no burden to the society. Your family is no burden to the society. You're not even in the street yet into the wider community. It's your household. Who do you think the young people and middle-aged and older people are that are wreaking havoc in our communities? Who do you think these people are? They're not phantoms. On every show that I've appeared, I've spoken to this business of these are real, live, yes, Bahamians, not foreigners. And I'm always amazed when people mouth off about, well, it's not a Bahamian, that's a gory crime, and Bahamians don't behave like that. Well, you know, we look at the facts, we look at the names and the date of births, and we see the passports, documents duly issued, they're not fraudulent.
Yeah.
If they were, we take action.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we know what the facts tell us. The point is, if I control my sons and my daughters, and I control myself, and I can say, as for me and my house, all is well. Now, I become a beacon on a hill on my street corner. And if I've got that right, I can step outside and check on the neighbors. So we can do this thing, Dr. Wisdom, one household at a time, one street corner at a time, one community at a time, one church at a time,
Okay.
one organization at a time.
And this is not asking too much.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not committing crime. I chose a life of service. You're not. My children are not committing crime. I can account for them. Dr. Wisdom, we're going to be broadcasted across the community, and my son is probably going to be very upset. He's 20, but he's got a curfew. And I don't think that I'm a demon, but, you know, I say to him, you know, your mom and dad still lives here, and we'd like a bit of respect. And so I expect you to come back in within a reasonable time. Yes, you're a man now and you drive, and mom and dad are still taking really good care of you. But all we ask for is a little compromise, that you come in a reasonable time. I would like you to be careful where you go and how you conduct yourself. And yes, Dr. Wisdom, you know I'm going to tell you this. I've said to my children, if you commit offenses against the laws of the Bahamas, do not call Ellison Edroy Greenslade. Do not call Kimberly Michelle Greenslade, my wife. Don't stress my poor wife, because we're not coming. I've told her to my children, and Dr. Wisdom, I mean every word of that. I don't want to have that conversation. You see? So when you become an adult,
you ask other fathers?
Absolutely. So I think we have come, this conversation needs to change. Dr. Wisdom, you realize what's happening here? We'll have this wonderful conversation. I want us to continue this.
Yes.
But it's always crime-centric, police-centric. And you say, well, Mr. Greenslade, you represent law enforcement. I say beyond that. I represent the Bahamas. See? That's the first responsibility. I'm a human being with some inherent dignity. I happen to live in the Bahamas, a beautiful place, and there is some responsibility that goes with that.
Okay.
I must play my role. As an adult, first and foremost, a responsible adult, in a country where there is social order, and if I bring children into the world because of a union with a woman who's my wife, I have an obligation and responsibility to them. And they have some obligations to us as a family and to the wider community. And you know what? Why don't I tell you a quick story right here? I want to get this in.
Sure.
Some folks will probably be real upset, but I'll make no apologies for it. Take me to task for it. Call me ignorant. No one has ever challenged what a philosopher's had to say. And when I started reading for a PhD, I had to go through some philosophy studies. And they told me about Socrates and Plato and all of these other people that a lot of folks deem were great. But whenever I mention the greatest philosopher and I say Jesus, you say, oh my goodness, a police officer can't say that. Maybe that is the problem. I don't have to qualify Socrates or Plato, but I have to qualify why I say Jesus. Well, in the same way I believe that they existed and I talk about them, don't I have a right to believe this also? Jeffrey Dahmer, a serial killer, wasn't crazy, they said. And he gave an interview before his death. And he said, and I'm not quoting him directly, what was there to stop me? I had no fear. Fear of what? I did not believe in God, he said. This is Jeffrey Dahmer, serial killer, not me. I did not believe in God. I did not understand who that was or what that was. I believed in the Big Bang Theory, he said. Slime and grime. He said, so what was there to stop me? There were no reasonable parameters that I was working within.
Okay.
He said, but then I came to understand that there is a God, he said. Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm going to continue to repeat this so that I do not lose anyone. Jeffrey Dahmer said this. I came, he said, to understand and to believe that there is a God and that I have to be accountable for what I did.
Wow.
And I hope that I'll be forgiven for the sins that I've committed. Jeffrey Dahmer, Dr. Wisdom, when you take a young person, a human being, anywhere on this planet, let's not even talk about the Bahamas, and that young person has no belief system, no values, what are we discussing?
What's to stop?
What's to stop him?
Okay. Okay. It is as basic as...
It's as basic as that. And so I believe that we are searching too hard. And we're looking for this grand plan. Everyone that speaks about this crime issue discusses the need for all of these new interventions. There are some fundamental things that we're missing. I don't steal. Do you know why? Because I believe it's wrong to steal. See, that's a fundamental belief. Where did I get that from? I lived in Baintown, but Mom insisted that we go to Sunday school. And she said, I don't care what church it is, you will be in Sunday school. Because you ain't going to jail, she said. So we found ourselves in Sunday school. And when it wasn't the Seventh-day Adventists, it was the Methodists or the Church of God of Prophecy, a Baptist or an Anglican, but we found ourselves in church. And we heard about these things. And we were told that there was a way that a human being, not an animal, a way that a human being should govern himself or herself. And we've never departed from that.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner, let's stay with this idea of young people, the future, the people who will rise and run this country this way or that way, who will behave this way or that way, and dealing with them. What, how does the force, what are your plans for encountering young people, for passing on to them how they should interact with their police force, what they should know about their police force, their police commissioner, their police officer, their community policing officer? What is the plan for the police force and young people?
The plan, Dr. Wisdom, is to fully engage with young people, to fully involve them, and to make interventions where necessary. And hopefully interventions early enough so that they do not get into further, more serious problems. And it's very simple. We're going to continue to run our summer youth programs. We continue to run our cadet programs. We continue to show up at churches and we speak. I'm going out for speaking engagement tonight. I'm going to meet young people. And as simple as touching them as you walk the aisle of a church, not to just keep your head in a direction and you know, stick your chest out and say, geez, it's the commissioner, that's what he looks like. No. But to step into that place and to find those young ones and to make the eye contact and to say, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Love your tie. Love your shoe. It's as simple as that, you see? And so that engagement has got to be across the board, every single police officer on a daily basis. We've got to get into the schools. We've got to take the messages that we have, very positive messages about making your best contribution as a young person to the growth and development of the Bahamas, and certainly to taking responsibility for your own self-development. Very important. We have to do our best to try and engage them, to involve them, and again I say, make the interventions early enough. It's a hard work and it's going to be a lot of work. And it's not done in offices. It's not done in offices. It's about leaving offices, walking the street corners. Dr. Wisdom, people are up and about on Saturdays, in neighborhoods, on parks. If we're going to walk the streets Monday to Friday while they're in school, well, who am I talking to? You see? So we have to again look at how we do the business.
They're in a different frame of mind on that.
There you go. The other thing is we have to speak the same language. You realize that a lot of our young people now will speak to you and I, and we probably won't understand much of what they're saying. It's a whole different zone. So how do you have a conversation if you don't even understand how to speak the language? It's as real as that.
Okay.
Anyone listening, if anyone listening does not believe me, test it with your children. Test it with your children. All right. It's a whole different language.
You know, this idea of community policing, and we have we talked about dealing with young people specifically, but this whole idea of community policing has been quite a political football. The question basically, directly is, look, where is it now? How does your plan carry forward this idea of community policing? And is it possible to do that sans the political ramifications and approach?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's in the plan, very fundamentally. And if you turn to the pages of the plan, Dr. Wisdom, please look it up, because at some point I really want you to read the letters that I've written, the words that I've written. I want every single officer, starting with myself, to be a neighborhood policing officer. I'm your friendly neighborhood policing officer. I'm it. There's no other person that you need to call. Any officer that you reach should have the solutions for you. I should not have to refer you to anyone else. And we should be in your neighborhood. Don't we live in your neighborhoods? Where do we live? We're neighborhood officers. We're members of your community. And we have to take responsibility. Now, I'll tell you, we haven't all been doing a good job at that. And many of us still do not know our neighbors. I tried just the other day with a group, and I asked a group of distinguished persons, including police officers, I asked them to take a blank sheet of paper and just, in a very crude fashion, draw what they feel, just a square, indicating their house, where they live, on a street corner. And to draw 3 boxes left and right of that box and fill in the names for me.
Oh, boy.
And everyone looked at the person next to them and thought, oh, my goodness, I just failed. Now, we point to other countries and say they don't know their neighbors. Now, I'm speaking to us. Okay, you drive the street corner where you live, and your street sign has fallen down. And you see it, but you're busy, remember? So, who's going to fix that street sign, and how will they know? What do? Well, you assume somebody else will come back and do it. So, Dr. Wisdom, why don't I ask you, when last have you ensured that they fixed the street sign?
Gotcha.
Can I tell you that I failed miserably? Because there's one on my street corner, and now repaired, but I said to folks when I spoke last that I'd gone by it for 2 weeks, as did every other neighbor. And we probably assumed somebody else was going to take care of it. I'm not sure we called it in, but it was our street corner. Who's going to move our trash, our dead dog, the old car that's parked? Who's going to move it? Are you going to call the government?
It's okay to take ownership. It's honorable to take ownership of your area. This is not, there's not anything wrong with this. It isn't, oh, some other agency. Oh, there's an agency that will take care of that. This is where you live. This is your neighborhood. You take